Well, did you hear the sad news recently that Elon Musk is no longer the richest man in the world? Don't you feel sorry for him to be bumped down to number 2? Here's a man, you just wonder, what's on his Christmas wish list? Does he have anything left to ask for? If he asked for Twitter, he may be regretting that he did, but that's beside the point. I remember reading about, I believe he was a politician, a very powerful man, and the observation was made, he probably doesn't even carry any money on him. He never has to give a thought about, does he have money to pay for something? Somebody's there to take care of that for him. It's a different kind of thinking than most of us have. Well, here's Solomon in the Old Testament. He is given great wealth. He has great power. He can experience anything he wants to experience, and apparently tried to. He can buy anything he wants to buy, and apparently did. He had way too many wives, and that wasn't enough, so he had those concubines. They took his heart away from God. He was a man of great wisdom. Sometimes he did not apply it in his own situation. And we think near the end of his life, maybe an older, wiser man, he wrote the book of Ecclesiastes. And he begins the book of Ecclesiastes on a very negative note. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. The word vanity can be also translated emptiness or meaninglessness. Here he had experienced all these things. He had everything that he could ever want. And he says, it doesn't mean a thing. He describes, as we've said before, life under the sun, life as you observe it here. And he had the opportunity to observe everything that goes on in life. And he says, it is vanity. Well, Solomon begins his book on a very negative note, but we ask, how does the book end? And so we look at Ecclesiastes chapter 12. At the first part of the chapter, Solomon begins, remember also your Creator in the days of your youth, before the evil days come, and the years draw near, of which you will say, I have no pleasure in them. Before the sun and the light, and the moon and the stars are darkened, and the clouds return after the rain. Remember God while you're young. Whenever we learn of God, and many of us have been blessed to know about God since we were very small, we need to serve Him as soon as we can. Start serving Him as young as we can. Solomon says, serve Him in your youth. And he describes the later years of life as evil days. The time will come, Solomon says, that you will say, I have no pleasure in these days. As we reflect on our lives, and not a one of us in the room this evening is young. Maybe we acted sometimes, but we paid the price for that, don't we? But we're not young. Now, we remember back when we were younger and the things we did. Sometimes we say, well, I'd like to do that over again. Then we get to thinking about, well, no, I don't think I would. Wouldn't want to go back there. Really, at each stage of life, there are some disadvantages and some advantages. But we know as we get older that our bodies start wearing out. They're only designed to last a number of decades, at the very least. We have some descriptions here, and I think we can kind of figure out what some of these are. In the day when the keepers of the house tremble, the strong men are bent, the grinders cease because they are few, and those who look through the windows are dimmed. Does that kind of sound like someone has lost several of their teeth? The grinders, they're bent over, the windows are dim, they don't see us well anymore. I've noticed a bit of that. When I was about 40-ish, I had the birthday candle condition. I heard that term from Cliff Fox this last week. And the optometrist said, you've got the birthday candle situation. He says, what's that? He says, when you get a certain number of candles on your birthday, vision isn't what it used to be. and you get glasses. Well, that happened to me at around age 40, 41, somewhere in there. And now, there is in my future, apparently, cataract surgery. I don't know when that will be. Used to go without the glasses. I don't anymore. We age. We have aches and pains. And as we live each day, we realize, okay, there's a limited warranty on this body. It's not designed to be forever. And someday, we will indeed die. So Solomon says, serve God while you're young. Start then. Before the silver cord is snapped, verse 6, or the golden bow is broken, or the pitcher is shattered at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the cistern. All of these images of things wearing out. I guess we're most familiar with verse 7, and the dust returns to the earth as it was, and the spirit returns to God who gave it. These bodies will wear out, we will die. That physical body deteriorates. It goes away back to the dust. And so Solomon then says, vanity of vanities. All is vanity. But at verse 9, there seems to be a shift in what is said, and it's generally believed that these are not Solomon's words at the close of the book, but someone else is commenting about Solomon and his work. Besides being wise, the preacher also taught the people knowledge, weighing and studying and arranging many proverbs with great care. The preacher sought to find words of delight, and uprightly he wrote words of truth. Solomon was wise. He wrote, indeed, many proverbs. We have the book of Proverbs that he wrote. He taught the people these many truths, and he sought to make the words delightful to hear, but he also spoke the truth. The New English Bible has verse 10 as, he chose his words to give pleasure, but what he wrote was the honest truth. Sometimes the truth is not very pleasant, is it? The doctor says to you, if you don't make some adjustments in your lifestyle, you're not going to live very long. It's not really what we wanted to hear. We really wanted him to say, eat all the bacon you want. If the doctor tells you that, change doctors. Truth can be very unpleasant to hear, but it is something that we need to hear. The words of the wise are like goads, and like nails firmly fixed are the collected sayings. They are given by one shepherd. My son, beware of anything beyond these. Of making many books there is no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh. Those words of wisdom, sometimes they just are like a nail. The point is sharp. We feel the pain. Goad is a similar idea. But we need to hear those words. We need to hear what is corrective, what is not always pleasant to hear. And Solomon, or the one commenting here, says these words are given by one shepherd. Ultimately, God is the source of truth, of all truth. And we need to be mindful of what God has said to us in his word. The reader is addressed as my son. There is the older person speaking to the younger person. He says, beware, be very cautious about anything beyond these kinds of words, these wise words. You know, there's just all kinds of instruction, all kinds of advice out in the world. And some of it is worthless. Some of it is damaging. Some of it can cause you to lose your soul. I know full well about this making of many books. The making of many books, there is no end. You know, when Solomon lived, there weren't that many compared to now. The Library of Congress up in Washington, I suppose, has a copy of every book ever published in the United States. I'm not sure where they're putting them all, do you? So many books. And my library has grown just in the last few months. Inherited books from Debbie's dad a few years back. Before my dad died, I said, I would like to have your books, and I got most of those. Gotten books from other sources. Books, books, books. There is no end of books, it seems. And yes, study can sometimes be very wearisome. It's not an easy task to study and learn. And then the writer says, here's the end of the matter. Yes, truth isn't always pleasant. Be careful what you accept as truth, but here is the truth. The end of the matter. All has been heard. When it comes right down to it, here's what you need to do. Fear God and keep His commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Everything else in life, all the great experiences one might have, all the things you could have, what matters is your relationship with God. You hold God in awe because He is God. And you strive to keep His commandments. That is your duty. Nothing else really matters. God will bring every deed into judgment. Every secret thing, whether good or evil. We will be responsible for what we do in life. We are blessed if we know God. We are blessed if we have access to His Word. And we need to make it our purpose to follow God and follow Him faithfully. Tommy South commented, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Is life all vanity? Only under the sun. Only if you attempt to live without God. God offers something far better than the vanity of human existence. He offers life, hope, forgiveness, guidance, and purpose to those who fear Him and keep His commandments.